All right. So we're kind of here. We're partially here. We got Myke. We got Jeff. That's sitting in Taylor's screen. we got my old buddy Mike Ox up in the north here with me, and we got Gary figuring out his camera, and we got Bad Fox and Nicole in the chat, and looks like we're starting to fill up, and Taylor should be joining us shortly. So let's go around the horn, and if you're drinking, introduce what it is that you're drinking and what you're smoking. I'll begin. So I'm doing the Angel's Envy. Hold on, let me allow Taylor in here. And
The Elijah Craig toasted.
for my smoke, I'm doing the Drew Estates Java. Myke, would you like to introduce yourself, sir?
We have two Taylors now.
Yeah, not drinking anything fancy tonight, but um, so my name is Mike Oxner, and I've known Mike for 20 years now.
Yeah.
We used to attack badgers in the wilderness together,
Oh, that's right. That's
or
right.
they attacked me and Mike saved me, depending on which story you hear.
That was
But
the inside
I ended
inside
up
joke. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I ended up going deep down the rabbit hole on neurology and how to use it to help with shooting performance and other tactical applications. So, uh, done some pretty cool stuff in that realm, and hopefully we'll get a chance to talk about some of it tonight.
Oh, absolutely. No, we'll definitely set some time aside for that. Taylor, number one, aka Jeff. Would you like to introduce what you're drinking and who you are?
Sure. I'm drinking this, which I highly recommend. Elijah Craig Toasted Barrel. It's fantastic. And who I am is I'm an enigma, Michael. Or
I know.
really just a guy. I'm
I
really just a
know.
guy named Jeff that couldn't get his camera to work. That's sitting in Taylor's spot is really what it is. But my day job, I do investing and financial planning things, and the rest of the time, I just share memes and talk shit.
Hey, perfect. You've come to the right place.
All right, excellent.
Actual Taylor, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I am Taylor, the brother of Michael. What am I? I'm the number fourth in the family, right? Is that how many we
One,
have?
2, 3.
Number
Yes,
four.
yes.
Excellent.
You are
start.
number 4.
I'm number four out of the six of us, and I'm an attorney in McKinney, Texas, and I own some businesses and don't have any cool stories like how Michael does about his life. So
Well, you've done some cool stuff. You went on a mission down in the Philippines for 2 years.
yes, I got to serve among the head hunting people of Nueva Vizcaya, that what they're called, the Ifugao people, the Igorot people. Yeah, that was fun.
You know what's not fun? Trying to read your book, not knowing anything about the Philippines, and trying to figure out how to pronounce those names or
I know that.
locations.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
It's brutal. Like, just listen to it. It's a good story. Audio only.
Well,
I'm telling you. Unless you want
yeah,
to
I
feel
told
literate.
you, that's what I did the audiobook for, was to make it easy for everybody just to listen to it.
I actually started listening to it. I need to finish it though.
Yeah. How far did you get in?
It's been a minute, but I'm trying to think. I'm wanting to say it's when you got sick. When
Oh,
I
okay.
think you ate or drank something, and
Yeah, thought I was gonna die.
yeah.
That was fun. Probably, I probably was dying, and lucky thing I got some medication. But dude, drinking that crap out there, some crazy stuff can happen when you drink the water in the Philippines.
Bad Fox and Nicole. I appreciate you coming. I see if we got Crypto Breezy up in here. Oh, the book.
What's
Taylor,
the book called, Taylor?
Yeah, Crypto Breezy wants to know what your book's called.
My mission book is Itui. It's about the mountain valley of the Philippines where I went to, and the people that were there, the people the Spaniards spent 350 years trying to conquer, never could.
How do you spell
good,
it?
good solid.
Itui.
Here we go. Here we go. As
Yeah,
imposter
right, yeah.
Taylor.
Just
There you
get to
go.
my office right now.
Yeah. Taylor number 2. So Gary, we can't see you, but I think we can hear you. If you want to introduce yourself.
Gary Packer, Utah. Been in the Army 18 years now, thanks to Myke.
You can blame me.
Not sure what you're looking for. I was focused on my camera. What else did we talk about here?
Oh, just a little bit of yourself. Like, well, here I'll tell them what I know a little bit about you. So I met Gary about 18 years. I actually was an Army recruiter, enlisted him into the military, and he's done fucking awesome shit for the past 18 years with the active duty in the Utah Guard, getting ready to retire, and possibly moving up Washington way, and might be doing a little something with me in Hawaii. But great guy and awesome family. Rides a lot of motorcycles. I know that he has a pretty nice chopper, and amongst other things, owned a biker bar for a while with his dad. But anything you want to add there, Gary?
Well, other than talking about the ugly part, the biker bar. Other than the military, really, I do nothing but baseball. I just got brought on as an executive director for a company called DBAT. We're in partnership with the Salt Lake Bees that feeds the Angels, and we just completed our first $23.5 million deal to build a new facility.
Nice.
And I don't even know if Myke knows this. I'm in the American Youth Baseball Hall of Fame as a coach.
Sweet.
And
all right. Well,
just doesn't like my camera. I don't know what the hell's going on. I need to switch tablets.
all right. So Taylor shared this with me earlier. It's
Oh yeah.
it's the let's start a podcast. Us after the first episode, we got the FBI handcuffing us and walking us away.
Well, if we start talking about what me and Jeff were talking about before we got on, then we'll probably be handcuffed in. Jeff.
That's Taylor. That's original Taylor's fault, though, not mine. I'm just along for the ride.
We got a Skeletor that's doing an interview. He asked him what his strength is. He's like, one time I farted so long, I was surprised that my butt didn't have to stop and catch his breath. The interviewer, you have a weakness.
Great.
Here's Meals on Wheels. Oh, there we go.
Oh, yeah.
We got Gary popping up.
There
Got
it
Meals
is.
on
Well,
Wheels.
had at least. Oh,
My-
God.
my 14-year-old boy said that to me.
That's funny.
Yeah,
I sent it to Michael.
Yeah, my nephew said.
All right, I won't be able to read any comments, but I'll just turn the ding tablet around until I figure it out later.
Sounds good. Sounds good. All right, there he is. You drinking anything, Gary?
I am.
What are you drinking?
My favorite.
Got the Stone
Nope.
cubes.
About to make y'all sick, but it's my favorite. It's just Jack Daniels.
Nice.
Just Jack Daniels.
Just Jack Daniels. That's
All
it.
right.
You know
Well,
what? I
let's-
guess
let's-
you
let's
owned
go ahead and
a
jump into
bar, and you're just like a pure just Jack Daniels. That's the answer.
Yeah.
After all
Just
the
nothing
other-
but just
The bar
rows
was
and rows
called
of
the
Jack
whiskey.
Daniels.
The bar was called the Whiskey, and our logo looked like the Jack Daniels bottle.
Oh, okay. The bar. Gotcha.
I was
All
sitting
right.
here today,
I'll buy some real
There should
bourbon and
be
bring
a
it next
bar
time.
called Whiskey and Donuts because I like whiskey and I like donuts, and it's annoying that I can't have them usually at the same time. Because if I do, my family looks
I
at me
think that would be a horrible combination.
I can go someplace. Be like, I want half a dozen glazed and a glass of
I
that.
see a massive hangover in Jeff's future.
Hey, and diabetes, but joy in between.
All
Just
right.
saying.
Well,
Whiskey and donuts.
let's go ahead and jump. Let's go ahead and jump into our first topic, and I want to present this to the forum here. So I want to talk a little bit about tech, and and I kind of like to kick it off with AI and robotics, just because it's SpaceX, Starlink, stuff like that. But I kind of wanted to start off with AI and robotics, just because it's multifaceted. It has a lot of far-reaching kind of things that it can affect as far as the economy, jobs. I use Grok on a daily basis in almost everything I do. I know Taylor is big into it. Myke, do you use like AI, or what are your thoughts on kind of the rise of AI and robotics?
Yeah, I use it on a fairly regular basis. Started using it a few years ago to actually create a VR mission training or mission planning software program, and
Really?
basically scan battle space with drones, compile all of the photographs, create a 3D rendering of it that you could basically do walkthroughs and mission planning in 3D and VR.
What are you using for that? That's fucking badass.
I can't get into the details on it, but I can. There's parts of it I can talk about.
Excellent
So
answer.
there's parts of it I can talk about without any problem at all, and then there's stuff I can't talk about. But
Man, this is like the other way around. Like back in the day, like we'd be talking and I couldn't tell you about things, and now you're not telling me about things. The tables have churned, my friend. Cheers. All right.
no, there's
Well,
some weird stuff with VR because of frame rates and the way that human vision works, and so getting VR to work practically has been more of a challenge than people thought. So for decision making, it's easy. For psychomotor skills that you want to be able to practice in VR and then execute in the real world, it's a little bit more challenging.
Okay. Myke, do you have any? I saw something on Twitter this week about how there's concern, like, so that the refresh rates of LEDs, or most LEDs, I guess, the way they cycle and blink, like you can pick that up when you like use a camera, right? The way they blink.
Yeah.
Does that our brains are working like extra hard to sort of filter that out or to like deal with that? Is that a thing? Is that real? Do you know anything about this?
Oh, it is absolutely a thing. If you got an iPhone, just put it on slow-mo mode, and with your video camera, scan your lighting, and compact fluorescent, regular fluorescent, and LED. All of them may show up flickering in
at different frequencies
when you play it back. And if it does, what it does is just constantly increasing the stress level of your central nervous system, because consciously you may not be picking it up, but subconsciously you are.
So what do we do about that? Is like a filter or something, or is it just we're screwed?
No, I can't use a filter. What you need to do, there's two ways to approach it. One is you get non-flicker lighting, and you just get really, really dogmatic about making sure that none of your lighting has flicker. And the other thing is you do things neurologically to lower as many other stresses as you can. You get the visual system working as good as it can. You get the balance system working as good as it can. And sometimes when you lower stress in one area, it lets you endure more stress in other areas.
So I got to put work into it then. Okay.
Let's just summarize all that awesome info that Myke just gave us into Jeffism.
No, that's. I mean, it's depressing. Of course, it doesn't. Even if you do that with the lighting and you like our TVs, our computer monitors, they all cycle, right? They all get refresh rates. So if you're spending a lot of time in front of a monitor or TV, right, that's still an issue. That's still going to add to the subliminal or subconscious stress.
Well, you can buy monitors specifically made for that have a very fast refresh rate, and so it's much more relaxing on the eyes, and it helps with one of the first places that people see the difference is with distance vision. So at the end of a long stretch of staring at a screen, they're able to see things in the distance clearer than if they're looking at a screen with a low refresh rate. But you end up with neck tension, you end up with back pain, tight psoas, all sorts of different things, and that's one of the big factors that plays into it.
Jeff's always easy on my eyes.
Yeah. I mean, this is legitimate. Like, this is actually helpful because, like, literally, so probably once a week, I'll get home especially if I have like a really, really packed day, and like it'll be 8 o'clock at night, watching a show with my wife or something, and I literally can't. I don't mean like I'm distracted. That's just normal. I mean, I can't resolve the figures, and I have to like take like a 15-minute nap to be able to watch TV, which is the most old thing anybody's ever said, ever. Like, I mean, I feel like I'm 90. Let me take a little nap, and then I'm going to wake up and watch Netflix. And so that's only slightly concerning. But I think it has something to do.
Yeah, I'll show you something that helps with it. One of the things you can do, take your hands and you palm your eyes so that you don't see any light whatsoever. And then you do a double inhale through your nose, a 10 count exhale through your mouth, and then hold your breath for 5 seconds with empty lungs. And you do that 3 times. And what that does is it shuts off stimulation to the optic nerve and lets the 21 areas of the brain that do visual processing go offline. And then you're hitting them with a lot of oxygen, and you're increasing CO2, which lets the blood release the oxygen to your brain. And most people can see much better after doing that than before. And it'll help with coordination of the eyes. It'll help with visual processing. It helps with all sorts of things when you start having eye fatigue.
So one more thing on that note. Do you make up the stuff on the spot or before the show?
Well, hold on. This is a perfect.
I mean, ask a random question. He like knows all this shit. That's crazy.
Well, this is the kind of the neuro hacking that I wanted to bring him on for. So let's actually segue into that. We can circle back to the AI, but this is like really interesting stuff, and I think it's going to be beneficial to everybody that's here on the show, and also the people that are watching. But let me share really quick some of the websites for Myke. Let's see, where are we at here? Entire screen. Here we go. All right. So can you guys see, can everybody see what I got going on here?
No, I can't see it. Can anybody else see it?
I can't see past your fedora.
It's not that big.
Let's try this a little bit different. Let's see. Try that.
Bad Fox is asking Myke to demonstrate the reset again with the
eyes breathing.
Yeah, so you palm the eyes, and then you do a double inhale through the nose, and that's breathing in twice before you breathe out. Then you do a 10 count exhale through the mouth, and then you hold your breath with empty lungs for a 5 count, and then you repeat that. And you want to have your palms over your eyes instead of your fingers, so that you're blocking out all of the light. So
And how
Taylor,
many
do you,
times
do
do you
you
do
want to
that?
move your hands up a little bit?
Move your hands
That's
up,
actually
Jeff.
That's actually Jeff because he's in my office right now because he couldn't get his computer to work. So, how many times do you cycle through
Jeff,
that?
Jeff needs to reset a lot of things, not just his eyes.
It it depends on what you got going on. So the baseline that I do with people is the baseline I do with people is 3 times, and they end with a double inhale, and that helps with flinch with pistol. A lot of times, if people are having problems reading, it will allow them to read a couple of font sizes smaller. I had one guy who struggled with migraines for 18 years and had tried everything. That was the first thing that allowed him to get control of his migraines. The impact that it has on the brain is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm
I
gonna
mean,
give this a
no
shot.
joke. I
You
do
guys
feel
go
like
ahead. I'm
a
gonna do
little
this.
better.
All right. So, Myke, give us a quick
Yeah.
introduction to what it is that you do. Because I mean, I know that you're a firearms instructor. You work, with some, pretty high level people. But give us the elevator pitch on what exactly makes like your system different than other
Yeah.
systems out there.
So, got to go back to the origin real quick. Basically, Myke made me ski down slopes that I had no business skiing down about 20 years ago, and I racked up a few extra concussions. And so, fast forward about 10 years,
Extra,
and those
not the
concussions.
standard ones you need, the extra concussions. Gotcha.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I had my share before Myke, but
Yes.
so the concussions all started catching up with me, and
Wow.
I had vertigo almost every night. My eyes didn't track correctly. My balance was off, and it really sucked. And so I did a deep dive into neurology, and when I was working with a neurology coach, and in a period of about 20 minutes, I went from not being able to do 20 push-ups because of a hurt shoulder, or not being able to do one push-up without pain because of a hurt shoulder, to being able to do 20 push-ups without pain. And I couldn't figure out how. Well, that was doing vision drills. I couldn't figure out how doing vision drills helped me with having concussions, and how concussions would cause me to have shoulder pain. And finally figured that all out. But basically, that got me really excited, and I started shooting better after I did that, a lot better. And I started using the drills with other shooters who didn't have a lot of concussions, and got great results with them. And so over the last 10 years, I've gone way down the rabbit hole on neurology and vision training and balance and stress modulation. And it has been an incredible ride. And so now what I do is I speak and write and do consulting on neurology for tactical applications, but also for sport and for business applications. And one of the drill sequences that I came up with, it's about 5 minutes long, and I've used it with over 1,000 shooters, and had an average increase of speed and accuracy of 20% in 5 minutes. And
Damn.
that's a normal increase, or a successful increase for a 2-day class, and we're compressing it into 5 minutes.
No,
And
No,
Mike,
so
real quick question though,
that's
because
insane.
I've literally shot dozens of rounds over the last decade. Could you help someone like me?
yes,
It's like, I don't know, dude.
That sounded like a question, not a statement. I was like, yes.
well, I can't.
I don't know.
The brand new shooter isn't normally my focus. It's normally people who have hit a plateau and want to figure out how to break through it.
Well, to be fair, I didn't want to be a brand new shooter. I put my gun in my gun safe, but I forgot the combo, and I've been too lazy to get it out. So once I figure out the combo, or I pay somebody to break into my own gun safe, then
Jeff,
I'm going to become a proper shooter.
I need to bring you up here to the cabin for like a month or at least a couple of weeks and inject some testosterone into you.
I'm going to come in like this and leave like Wolverine. I already inject testosterone into myself. It's totally fine. I just don't have a lot. I just keep my gun safe.
Do you have a no soy cabin, Myke?
What's that?
Do you have a no soy cabin?
Yes, no, it's all protein, no soy, no. Actually, I've been eating like super clean lately.
That was crazy.
The girl I'm dating, all of the she has me looking at all the labels of everything. So if it has any kind of additives, colors, anything, I don't touch it. So, and I've gotten, I don't know, just in the past 2-3 months, I've put on probably about 10 pounds of muscle, gotten a lot more defined. I sleep a lot better. My head's a lot clearer. I'm a lot more focused. I mean, it's just the benefits are amazing. And just whenever I hear like RFK talk about, like the trash that's in our foods and, and the impacts that it has on, mental clarity, testosterone levels, estrogen levels in men, all of those things. Honestly, dude, I believe it.
There's a ton. Well, dude, there's so this is not about food, but it's the same exact concept. So years ago, my wife works full time, but years ago when she was kind of staying home with the kids, and which is its own gig, I get. But there was this company called, I think, Beauty Counter or something. I don't know. I don't think it's around anymore. Kind of an MLM deal, right? But she just liked the product. She's like, I'm just gonna join so I can get the discount. And if anybody wants to buy from me, cool. But I don't really care. Cool. But the pitch was that the standards they use to make all of their cosmetics was based on the European standards. And European standards have 5,000 different chemicals and compounds that are banned that we can use here, right? And what's crazy is like major companies like L'Oreal or Maybelline or whatever, I don't know, cosmetic companies will make, a lipstick here and the same exact lipstick they'll sell over there. And the one they sell over there doesn't have any of those compounds. And because it's a little bit cheaper, the ones they sell here, of course, do. And you would think,
so Jeff,
okay, why can't we agree on stuff like that?
Jeff, I had this business idea that would probably be an amazing food store to make, is just follow the EU standards.
That's my point. Like, this is crazy.
Sell that here in America and like a grocery store, and just say the food here, because I was talking to Therese about this, and she's an employee that worked for me that just moved here to the United States from the Philippines, and she's super skinny.
I saw it on your podcast.
Yeah, and she immediately when she came here started gaining weight, and so she was like, I had to she has to be super strict about what she eats here. She goes, I've never had to do that in my life. And then she left for 2 weeks for Europe. She's actually a professional shooter, ironically, but she left to Europe. And she said, I just ate whatever I wanted to. And she goes, I lost 6 pounds. She goes, there is something in the food in the United States that immediately causes you to gain weight. And I'm like, the best idea is figure out how to just run a business where you're just going to sell EU standard food. Or
all right, hold on. We're gonna shelve this for the conspiracy portion of the show. I want to get back to Myke and
oh yeah.
So Myke. So like, can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Can you see my screen, Myke? All right.
No.
Tell us, what is Red Dot Mastery?
Red Dot Mastery is a book that I wrote and last year, and basically what happened was a few years ago, I did not want to use a red dot on a pistol, and people kept asking me how to shoot red dots, and I figured as an instructor, I need to know how to shoot them. So I was like, all right, I hear all these horror stories about how hard it is. I want to be able to make the switch in one shot. And so I reverse engineered the problem and figured out what I would need to do to be able to switch from irons to a red dot in a single shot instead of it taking 6 weeks, 6 months, however long. And it worked. And I used it with students, started introducing instructors to it, and then myself, Marcus Custer, who was a Special Forces weapons instructor, and now he's a nationwide law enforcement instructor in Lefty and NRA. And Eric Gilhouse, who created the Red Dot program for Gunsight. The three of us wrote the book Red Dot Mastery, and it goes into how to make that switch and how to be able to go back and forth between irons and a red dot without any lag, so that you don't even have to know what's in your holster, and you can draw and present, and whatever the sighting system is, it's going to show up between your eye and the target. You're going to be able to make fast hits.
So at what point in your draw stroke does the brain trigger, and maybe I'm asking a stupid question, but just from my experience, whenever I draw and come up to press, whenever I start pressing out is usually, like I'll, depending on the range of the target, I might start firing before I even, if it's close enough, I'll start firing before I even, get my sights. But at what point does the brain trigger on the sights?
So that gets really complicated really quick.
Okay.
The process of seeing something, processing it, and taking action on it with the hands takes between 0.15 and 0.5 seconds if it's something that you're familiar with. When you, as a shooter with any skill, you can get to a certain point where you can make decisions based on what your brain has processed subconsciously without consciously seeing the sights. So how that plays out practically is you might not consciously know that your sights were on target until after you have fired the shot.
Okay.
Because of the speed that things are happening at when you're in a hurry.
Is that just a function of practice, or is that a function of or are there like physical or genetic limitations to how good someone can be on something like that?
Yeah, so if we think about seeing something, the image goes in both eyes, gets split in two in each eye. Those get combined in the middle of the brain. They go back to the visual cortex, and the brain then decides which eye to use for sighting and which eye to use for depth perception. And then it sends that to 22 different areas of the brain for processing. And we've got areas of the brain that are deciding what we're going to do and then how to do that without falling over. And all of that stuff gets figured out in a heartbeat. And then the signal gets sent to our hand and we do something. And all of that takes time. And that's where that 0.15 to 0.50 seconds comes in. And it's getting into AI and robotics. It's part of the reason why it has been so hard to create robots that look and act like people, because of the sheer volume of computations that our brain is doing just to do simple movements.
So I love that somewhat, kind of looping back to the AI and robotics. So I don't want to go back to that conversation quite yet. I really want to delve into what you're talking about. But I know from the many, many years of shooting that I've done that changing over to different types of optics, like you mentioned, there's usually a learning curve because of muscle memory. How is it that you're able to, and I'm a little bit slow. I'm an old vet with a lot of, TBI. How is it that your system allows people to transition so quickly to different type of optics with such a high success rate?
Yeah, so the biggest issue is that most people, when they aim a pistol, they throw the gun up and then they find the sights and line up the sights. So they're aiming with the sights. And what I teach people to do is aim with their presentation and verify with the sights. And as long as the same presentation delivers the irons and delivers the dot, then you can switch back and forth without any problems. The big challenge is that going back to 1975, there's been study after study after study for how accurately people can point. And there are studies in relation to cockpit design and where buttons are placed and how big they need to be for people to be able to press them in a calm state and in a stressed state.
Okay.
We've got studies for dash design for cars. We've got studies for gesture
I
activated
I
devices and
do the
touch
same
screens.
thing with like my kit setup. So like, my body
Yeah,
armor and how I place stuff on my kit is the same thing. Like my tourniquet is always on my left shoulder because I'm right-handed. I can grab it and I can access it. Just placement, of items, gross muscle movements, because when you're in a stress state and adrenaline is going, you lose fine motor muscle, movement, and usually gross motor muscle movement takes over. In my experience.
yeah. Uh, so what all of those studies found is that people don't point very accurately. What they do is they point and then they correct based on what they see. And what we need to do is point accurately right out of the gate with the pistol, not to need to correct. And so that means getting both eyes on the same page about which direction straight ahead is, getting the inner ears on the same page about which direction straight ahead is, and body awareness so that the brain delivers the hand between the dominant eye and the target.
Gotcha.
And
So
so I do that. I approach that from a neurological perspective and get all of those things working together. And then it's way easier to automatically deliver the sights between the dominant eye and the target.
So what
so
metrics are you looking for? I'm sorry, go ahead, Myke.
I was going to say, if your program, is it just in person, or is it something that people can, like I shared the links in the description, and I'll make sure that they're in the YouTube one as well. But is your program something that is only in person, or is it something that they can do online? Is it something that they can download?
Oh, so all of the above. Yeah, most of my in-person coaching is either for conferences or units or departments who are facing a specific problem that no other instructor has been able to solve, and so I get called in to solve it. But I've got 25 different courses that are available online,
Okay.
and so people
And
can
it, and
do them
it,
from home. I do live online also.
and so there's, for anybody that's watching, watching the live stream, or if you're watching this on repeat or anything like that, I'll make sure that I put the links in the description. But one that I know is really good is these. Well, not these. Is these the dry fire playing cards, and I can't stress enough the value of dry fire, because it's free. You can practice your trigger squeeze. You can practice your draw stroke. You can practice pressing out. You can practice all the muscle movements and the all of the necessary, everything necessary to do a smooth, controlled, calm draw stroke. Because slow is smooth, smooth is fast. You're able to get on target and get well-placed shots. I highly suggest that you go to dryfiretrainingcards.com. It's a really good place to start. And then once you get the basics down, and correct me if I'm wrong, Myke, but then maybe graduate to some of these more intricate skill sets that Myke's talking about with kind of the neurological aspect. Would that be correct, Myke?
Well, sort of. The place where I have people start for the last year or two, I guess, is visiontraining.com. And
Okay.
On visiontraining.com, I've got an hour presentation that I gave at the USCCA National Expo on vision training for tactical applications. And don't have to register or anything to watch it. And it goes through the palming and triangle breathing and several other things that people do in real time that people can do at home to see immediate improvement in accuracy of pointing.
All right. Well, I'll put those links in the description, like I said, and and then let people, and I'll arrange them and add some details. Doing the vision training first. Would you say red dot mastery second or dry fire second?
It depends on the person. The book format is great for a lot of people for learning and getting the background on why you do the things that you do with the cards. And so one or both of those, either way, depends on if people just want the drills and say, let me go, or if they want to know why they're doing the drills and how to make their own and how to customize their training.
All right, cool.
Which brings me back to my question. I want to know.
Don't get on a rabbit trail, Jeff. Don't get on a rabbit trail.
I just want to know when you're training. Obviously, you said you weren't training like beginning shooters, but when you're training, whomever at a certain level comes to you and goes, "I want to elevate." What's the metric that where you've made? Is it speed? Is it accuracy? Is it a combination of both? Like, how do you measure how much? I mean, because obviously, if you hit a bullseye on a target, that's good. But if you took 10 minutes to do it, maybe not so good. So, how do you measure that?
It all depends on the particular application. So I'll give you an example. I was helping with an aerial gunnery program, which is engaging threats with a carbine from a helicopter. And the progression is you lay prone, shoot a target at 50 yards just to verify point of aim, point of impact. Then you shoot from a chair, stationary. Then you shoot from a chair that's hanging on a platform, or that's on a platform that's hanging from chains and swinging back and forth. And there was a military sniper, law enforcement marksman who was going through the training, did great on the first two, got to the hanging platform, and he was shooting about 20%, which wasn't good enough. And so he got really frustrated, and finally I said, "Hey, you want to try something?" He said, "Yeah, I'll try anything." I said, "All right, put your finger out in front of you, track it to the right, track it to the left, come back to the middle." And I said, "All right, was it smooth in one direction and choppy in the other?" And he said, "Yeah, but how'd you know?" It doesn't matter. Here's what you do. I was behind him. I couldn't see his eyes. I could just tell from the way that he was addressing the target what was going on.
Yeah.
So what was happening was what I told him was, when you're coming onto the target from the smooth direction, take the shot. When you're coming on from the choppy direction, smooth or swing through and come back from the smooth direction. And what was happening was, in one direction, his eyes were moving in a coordinated manner, and they were both moving smoothly. In the other direction, he had nystagmus. One eye was bouncing, and the other guy was moving steadily. So his sight picture was changing as he was coming onto the target, and there was nowhere he could make hits.
From the dominant
so telling
side
him that, he went.
side.
What's that, Myke?
I said from the dominant side to the non-dominant side. You know, depending
So
on
it's
what
not necessarily the dominant, non-dominant. It has to do with motor control of the eyes, and
Okay.
a lot of people, their eyes aren't pointed at what they're looking at. They don't move at the same speed, and one may be moving smoothly, and the other may move with
Okay.
a jump. And each of those can create different issues and different challenges. So he went from
how do
20%
you
hits to
overcome that?
80% hits like that.
Wow.
There's drills that you do where you train the brain to move the eyes in a coordinated manner. And so I gave him the quick fix, which was to swing through if he was coming from the choppy direction, shoot if he was coming from the smooth, and then drills to do at home so that he could retrain his brain to get his eyes to move quickly and in a coordinated manner all the time from then on. Because the problem
Myke,
isn't just shooting. If you think about it, that's what's that?
Oh no, I was going to say we're obviously going to need to have you on again. This is too much, like too much info, too much alpha. So for one sitting, and so I'll definitely put your links in the description. But I would love to dedicate an episode to just maybe we can talk before the episode and do like a 101, and kind of give people like a baseline of a place they can start to start improving just the everyday shooter.
Yeah.
The things that you've seen in your time training, law enforcement, 3-letter agencies, military, things like that. Because if you can help people that have that level of shooting skill, then being able to greatly improve the shooting ability of the everyday shooter or the everyday person, I think would have a lot of value. And the thing that I personally feel is important when it comes to the Second Amendment and people owning firearms is I personally believe that everyone should be required to get some sort of training on how to handle firearms properly. Not necessarily before they own a firearm, but I think it should be a part of owning a firearm. Because back in the day, people were raised shooting guns. These days people aren't. Basic safety, there's a serious lack of it. So let's talk another time, and let's definitely have you back on if you don't mind.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Awesome. So let's move on to a couple different segments. I want to talk about steak, and I want to go around the
let's
horn.
talk about steak. I love steak.
I've been talking online with a bunch of people that are in the chat, and I have some steaks waiting for me for tonight. I have them dried out. I have them seasoned up, and I got the cowboy butter ready to go. Me personally, I'm a big fan of just a room temperature steak, as hot as I can get it cast iron. And I throw it in there. I throw the butter in there, and I just ladle it over until I get a nice crust on the outside. Makes it nice and rare on the inside. It has a nice crust on the outside. Taylor, how do you?
Well, every time I've gone to your place, that's like the best steak I ever had. And so I really am like, don't know of any other way to explain it, but I really think probably the expert here is going to be Jeff, because he knows food better than any person that I know.
Does say beer, tacos, beer, gentlemen. That's the shirt's motto. Okay.
All right, Jeff. Do you cook steak?
Sear? Have you ever done a reverse sear?
I have done a reverse sear, and I like it, but it seems like I can never get the inside right. It's never rare on the inside when I do a reverse sear.
So I have to, my wife's the amazing cook in this, but she has like mastered, she puts it in the oven first, like bakes, I'm gonna say 200, I don't know. And then finishes it on the grill, and it's stupid good. It's insane. And the reason has something to do with, the way the proteins react when you put high heat on. And so when you bake it like in a convection oven, it's like an even heat and everything kind of cooks exactly, So theoretically, you cook the steak to medium rare, right? Or right before medium rare. And then you sear it, right? Super high. And you let it rest. Oh, super good. And that's the best steak I've ever had is been reverse seared.
Well, because I've even used the little thermometer, like the digital thermometer that you can stick in and like you have it outside the oven, and I can't get it right. But Myke, how do you cook your steak?
One more super crazy tip. I got a buddy of mine that does this. Like literally he's ruined steak for me. I don't even order at restaurants anymore because what's the point?
Oh, dude, I can't even go to Roost Chris anymore because I've dialed in my stuff.
So anyway, he does. So he's reverse sear, like I'm talking about, but he does the cooking part on his green egg. So he gets the smoke and then reverse sears. Yeah. And dude, you cry. I'm telling you, like see angels. It's amazing.
Make you want to slap your mama. All right, Myke, how do you cook your steak?
Traeger at low heat until the inside's 120, and then reverse sear.
That's it.
Perfect. Fucking golden. All right, Gary, I haven't heard shit from you yet. How do you cook your steak?
I was pissed off that my camera wasn't working. Now I'm working on
it's all good, brother. This is our first episode.
So I'll get that fixed here before next Sunday. But mine is just old school, open flame. I figure out the temperature based on your finger touch and the muscle between your thumb and your index. And once I get it right between the index and middle finger, done.
Just that easy, huh?
That just nice. Old school. I'm just an old redneck. We don't do all the fancy stuff.
I don't either, man. I got the cast iron that I actually used when I was living in a tent when I was building my cabin. I ate steak almost every night, and it's the same cast iron that I used on the campfire while I was building my place. Yeah. And it's once a week I would go to town and get a country fried steak with veggies and mashed potatoes with country gravy in Northport, Washington.
God, you're killing me right now, dude. I haven't had You know what?
Just texted me like before you started talking about this, and he was telling me about how hungry he was.
All right. So, all right. Next up, we touched on everybody's. All right, conspiracy corner. Taylor, I want to start with you because when you guys came up here, you were like when you guys came up to the cabin with my nephews, and we went on our fucking epic camping trip where we got hailed on a mountaintop and had to hike up through like waist deep snow. It was a little too early. We'll have to do a little later in the season next time. But you were wanting to see UFOs and Bigfoot. So kick us off on the
So, you probably know me to the point that before about 2021, if you were to ask me about UFOs and all that kind of stuff, I would have said, well, you're batshit crazy and that stuff doesn't exist. And then, that David Grush guy went on to Congress, and I'm a lawyer, so I know a little bit about testifying in front of judicial hearings, and also about signing affidavits. And so when I watched this guy go up there and found out that one of the head attorneys for the United States government signed affidavits that what he was saying was absolutely true, it kind of threw my whole world upside down. Because it's like, I'm very traditional in the way I think about things. And here is this, these guys that can be thrown in jail if they're lying, claiming that, hey, there's these things flying over, all of our, country. It's mainly over the oceans and stuff like that. So that got me going down way too many rabbit holes. I've probably written about 6 or 7 books since then on the topic. And, I would say now I am out in la land where I can't even talk to people about this because they're going, oh, he's batshit crazy. because I turned into one of those people. So that's kind of where I'm at right now with the whole thing is I can't stop getting information, like, because now my algorithm on my TikTok and everything is basically it's jujitsu, UFOs, and what else do I get? Like,
oh no, keep going. I got something for jujitsu.
Yeah, so like that's basically all I get all day is whenever I get on any social media. And I think that's also a warping of your reality, those algorithms, because you get so much of the things that you want to watch that you start only seeing that stuff. And so now, like, all yesterday it was about how this planet, how the James Webb telescope found this planet-sized ship that's supposedly coming towards Earth, and it's been disclosed to Congress. And I'm just like, well, is this true?
That's horse shit.
Well, it's like I thought all this stuff was horse shit, and then it turns out that our own government's been releasing a lot of it. So that might be horse shit, but
that's the crazy thing. I want to touch on that. There was remember when everything was fucking kicking off with like COVID and all that shit. And I know that we're like YouTube's probably going to ban us now, and I don't give a shit. But when all that shit was going on, and we had 8 months of like looting and riots, the government came out and said that the CIA had a part in the JFK assassination, that UFOs were a thing. They released videos that the Navy had of them like transitioning from like the air to going under the fucking water, and then out of the water back into the air. And it was like radio fucking silence. Like nobody like even fucking blinked an eye at it. It just like passed under the radar. Like how the fuck? Like,
you can follow a guy on
old enough that like we remember that like JFK assassination and UFOs was like the conspiracy theories, and if you believed either of them, you were a nutcase, and those things were basically admitted.
Yeah, Michael, you can go on Instagram, follow a guy named Chris Bigelow. He wrote the book called UFO of God, and about every 3 days he posts a video of a UFO coming to him. Like just outside of his house. Yeah, go look him up. It's Chris.
All right, you need to send me a link to this so that I can put it in the description.
Yeah, it's he wrote a book, and it's a crazy story, and it's certified by, I think it's one of the head guys of the FBI. That this guy is not a cuckoo, crappy person. He actually apparently gives information to the president of the United States.
He's part of the conspiracy.
He's part of the whole thing.
Taylor, I should tell Michael about my dream of the alien invasion.
Oh yeah, gosh, tell him that story. That's great. That's a good one.
All right, don't take forever.
It's quick.
It's quick.
Bottom line, I wake up. There's like this crazy. It sounds like 100 horses like running over my roof, and I wake up and I look outside. And I look up, and there's like it's like Independence Day, right? There's just these massive ships just coming. And I'm just like, and literally, it's like 3:30 in the morning, and I literally look at the clock. I look back up at the alien invasion, and I said, "Fuck it, there's nothing I can do till morning anyway." And I went back to bed. At which point, I then woke up from that dream and realized it was a dream. But I just want you to know that when the aliens come, apparently, you cannot count on me. Because
you just give up and go back to bed.
My schedule.
Jeff's like, I'm tired. The aliens are invading.
This is some bullshit. I'm going to sleep. I'll be your slave.
Aliens can come back tomorrow.
Yeah.
Get with me at 8 a.m.
The best part of that story is we were in a client meeting talking to a client, and then I don't know how we got on this whatever story, and then Jeff goes, "Oh yeah, I had this dream last night," and he tells that story to our client. And our client's like looking at us like, "Are these guys crazy or something?"
Hey, keyword client. All right. So, okay.
Former client or
Still a client. Hey, Taylor.
Yeah. No shit, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So Gary,
Yeah.
what is your conspiracy theory?
I can't talk about it for 2 years and 13 days.
All right.
Sweet.
Oh.
That's a real good one.
We'll see you in 2 years and 14 days.
Well, no, he retires, and me and him, we have plans when he retires. He's gonna come up here to the cabin. He's gonna bring the old lady, and we're gonna do some things, and we'll have an episode where he'll be here at the cabin, and we'll unveil.
We're just gonna unleash on all the stuff.
I understand. I understand. You're still in uniform, Myke. What is your conspiracy theory?
I don't know that I have one.
What? You're the guy that told me about Bitcoin when what was it, like $200?
And it turned out to
That
not be
wasn't a conspiracy theory.
No, but dude, to me
It was then.
No. We were sitting at a barbecue in my backyard in downtown Salt Lake, that downtown house that I had. I wanted to say it was either right before, no, it was right after I got back off my last deployment in 2015. And you were telling me about fucking this digital money called Bitcoin. And I remember that you were like, dude, let's just throw $100 each into it and see what happens. And I'm like, dude, that's like fucking Pokemon cards for dudes that live in their mom's basement. And I laughed at you. And now look. So
you know what?
You don't have a conspiracy theory.
I did that. But it wasn't a conspiracy. But I did that.
It was to me. I was like,
I did. It became, I forget how much. The last time I looked, it was like worth $500,000. And so here's what happened. I split it up for so I wouldn't have all my eggs in one basket. Half of it I put in Mt. Gox. Mt. Gox disappeared. So there's half. Yep. The other half.
Got some back, but Mt. Gox got it back.
They did?
Yeah.
I got to check that.
That doesn't mean he's getting his shit back.
Look into that shit. You guys
like, whoa.
Well, that'd be a happy day. The other half.
I'm fucking with you, dude. It was like a couple months ago. Mt. Gox, they paid back. It was at a lesser amount. But you got money back. So check it out.
Oh, wow. So the other half, I put into a wallet, and I made an encrypted sector on my hard drive. And then I thought, I'm going to be really, really careful with this one and make it a word that nobody will ever guess, including me.
Got locked out.
So, boom, that $500 that's over $500,000 is all gone. Well, except maybe now I might get, I don't know, 50 cents, $1 or $2 back from Mt. Gox. And
well, depending on how much you have in there, you might be surprised. So coming on this podcast, you might have made money.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be like $200,000 or $300,000 if it was. But yeah, I figured it was all gone. And who knows?
I literally read an article about
this. Look at whatever wallet, what wallet did you use for Mt. Gox?
I have no idea. That was a long time ago.
Well, if you can figure it out, they paid people back. So.
But wait, before we get off this, I swear, there's a firm. I just read an article like in, I don't know, Wired or something like 3 months ago about this situation. There's a firm like in Silicon Valley, I'm sure there's more than one, that will say, hey, we understand that your hard drive's got like, 10 attempts before it erases itself or corrupts itself or it's locked forever or whatever. And they'll make a contract with you, once you feel comfortable enough. And it's like whatever they recover, if they can break the code, and they recover it, then they get like 40% of whatever they find. But it may be worth doing. It's $500,000, 40% still. 40% is $200,000, right? So you only got to keep 300, but 300 is a whole lot better than zero. Last time I checked.
Yes, it is.
All right. So, just
And
saying,
that's
don't
why,
give it up yet.
and that's why Jeff's a financial advisor. Is
There you go.
because
That's my entire training. I'm just saying, I'm going to find that company and I'm going to send you a link because then you buy me a reverse seared steak and everybody's happy. That's how that works.
all right, Mike. We're gonna hook you up, brother. We're gonna hook you up.
That'd be awesome.
All right. All right. So we've gone around the horn about the conspiracy corner, and so let's.
Well, how long do you want this to last? Because I have a conspiracy that may last another 2 hours if we let it.
Well, I mean, people can drop off if they need to go. You know, we can keep this going as long as people want to stay on. But you know, we definitely have reached the 1 hour mark.
Wait,
But,
time out real quick. Wait,
I'm jumping
Gary,
in with Jeff here
we'll
really
talk
quick.
about something for 2.5 more years. 2 hours, actually 2 days, 2 years and 13 days. But you have a conspiracy theory that's below that will take 2 hours?
Yeah. Yeah.
Holy crap. All right, well, we got to get into this. I mean, come on.
Let's touch on this real quick. This will be a quick one, and then we'll loop back to that, and then people can drop off, you know, if they need to go.
Holy crap! Are the two Taylors sharing an apartment? What's going on?
No, this is Taylor. They are in my brother Taylor. They're in his law office right now in Dallas, or in McKinney to be exact.
So Jeff just likes to be called Taylor because he's that close?
Well, it started out as Taylor was sitting there. Jeff couldn't get his camera working, and so Taylor went over and got into something else.
Taylor and Michael couldn't get my camera working. Thank you very much.
Okay, I feel for you because I can't get my camera to work either. So
I want to get this out here before people drop off. So I want to have an advice, like with the toxic masculinity narrative that's going on right now. There's a lot of young men out there that are feeling like the natural state of mind of being a man is there's something wrong with it. And I want each of us to give a piece of advice like that you would give to a lot of you have sons. I don't. But I've mentored a lot of people in the military and outside the military, and I'll start. Wow. But a piece of advice that you would give a young man in today's day and age to put them on the right path to being a productive, successful man, husband, mentor, business owner, whatever. Mine is that they should have honor, they should have integrity, never compromise it, and that they should study the Stoics, because making decisions, emotional decisions in investing or any part of life, I've never been successful whenever I make decisions in an emotional state. It shuts off the logic centers whenever you're emotional. I always take a breath. I pause. I get out of that state before I make any big life decisions. And when it comes to success, I always find a mentor. And Myke has been a mentor to me in the past. Taylor has been a mentor to me throughout my life. To the times that I've been a father and I've been a husband, I've looked to him because he is, and our dad, Steve, has been a shining example of what a father and a husband is. But find a mentor that embodies what you want to become and follow their example. And I'll end it with that. Myke, what's yours?
Well, I'm head of an outdoor adventure ministry that's got about 100 boys in it, and it was created. 11 years ago, and the one of the big reasons that it was created was because in the military, the guys coming in, there was a shortage of men who knew what true north was, and there was a shortage of grit. And so what we do is basically help boys turn into godly young men. And so the two things are basically keep your eyes on God and do things that are hard and build grit and do things where you are going to fail. And sometimes you will, sometimes you won't. But the kids have a, I don't know how they get to 16, 17, 18 years old without failing, but a lot of them haven't. They do not know how to endure anything. So
Unfortunately.
those two things, keep your eyes on God, do hard things, and build grit.
Fuck yeah. Gary, you're up next.
All right, so super old school, something that I heard growing up. I really didn't apply it, but I kind of did, I suppose, if you will. Listen and hold God's hands, or take the wrath of mine. And the other part of it is stop listening to the parasites in our society that are creating a change in our mindsets in our youth that is driving them away from really growing up and being taught who they are, like developing who they are through their teachings of their father figure or uncle, etc. But I just feel like the parasites in our community are really changing our kids' minds.
Thank you, sir. Jeff, kick it off. I'm saving Taylor for last. I know he's gonna have some gems.
Well, assenting to all that's been said before, I think something I wish I had done earlier in my life, much earlier in my life, is I think that there's a certain level. This is going to sound so self-help is 21st century BS, but it's true. You got to be honest with yourself. You really like looking back through the number of decisions I made that I thought were my decisions were really my parents' decisions, or really the cohort I hung out with, or whatever. Like, you can when you have support, whether it's real or perceived, you can lull yourself into a sense of, oh, this is what I should be doing, because you're borrowing the convictions of others instead of relying on your own. And obviously, boys got to become teenagers, got to become young men, got to become men. So I'm not saying that emotions, unlike what you were talking about, I'm not saying you should just follow your emotions, but I think you need to be really honest with yourself about your intent. Why are you doing something? What do you want out of it? Because you can go down a lot of paths that don't really fit you well. Really carrying the burdens of other people's expectations, other people's attitudes, other people's emotions towards you. And that 100%. At the end of the day is not going to work, right? It's what you need. It's who you are. It's who you're becoming.
Be true to yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I think you can literally, as someone who's experienced this myself, I think you can lose decades in suboptimal life because you're not true to yourself.
That actually resonates very deeply with me, because I almost fell into that. So thank you for sharing that. Taylor, finish us off.
So I've been working on my I call life mapping, which is you go back through your life, write a little bit about every year, kind of things that you've experienced. And of course, I don't remember a lot when I was a little kid. So I've been reading our dad's journal. And one of the big things that I experienced, and something he experienced in his life, is our dad went through a very difficult time in his life. He was divorced with us four. Michael probably
Yeah, we lived in a trailer in the middle of Texas, and after we had our trailer foreclosed on, that's pretty sad and pathetic when you. That's pretty.
I remember that. I remember that.
We got our trailer foreclosed on, and he couldn't afford to live anywhere but Grandpa's trailer in the middle of Texas. And he wrote in his journal, and he said, "I was feeling very down about myself, like I hadn't done anything in my life." And he goes, "I pulled out a piece of paper and wrote down accomplishments." And he goes, "The only thing I could think about that could come to my mind was I was an Eagle Scout. That was the only thing that he could think of at the moment." And he said, at that moment, he said, "I had to pull myself out of it for these kids." And he took us back to Utah and kept marching through. And I realized almost every man usually will have that moment in his life where you're really at the darkest point, whatever it is. I think maybe it's built into the system where you will be overwhelmed with every feeling to quit and give up. Yep. And the best advice I can give you is that will be your greatest story later on after you push through it. It sucks going through it, but now I look back at that moment that my dad went through and realized I owe everything to that moment, because he could have walked away from the four of us and dropped us off somewhere.
Honestly, like anytime that, like when I was a father to my ex's boys, he was a shining example of what a man and a father is. And I need your help. I would love to have Dad on, like, on one of these shows, because he's such a humble and honestly, I can't think of a better word to describe him. Just humble, giving, just focused, quiet. He's everything that a man should be. But a lot of times in his life, I think he felt like he had missed the mark. But in every way, he had hit the mark.
Sounds like a good role model.
No, he really is. More like, he's not my biological dad, but honestly, I've modeled myself after him as much as I can, because he's such an example of what a man is.
Yeah, he really is. And he never pats himself on the back or tries to get appreciation for other people. He helped more, and he spent most of his life helping young kids get their GED when they were in prison.
Oh, no, yeah, he volunteered while he was a teacher for 30 some odd years, teaching special ed. And then he volunteered at the prisons to help people get their GED. And he dedicated his life to helping others. He is the most charitable, honorable man that I have probably met in my life.
I think based on the direction this conversation's going, I misunderstood the question.
I know, right? No, it's...
I feel like I missed the mark on this one.
That's awesome.
No. It really, I wanted, the mark was that I really wanted to give any young man that might watch this episode some direction and some structure, because there's a serious lack of it in today's society. They're told that everything masculine is toxic. They're told. And I think that it has a lot to do with a lot of the issues we're seeing in our society today. There is an imbalance. There is a lack of masculinity. And there is a blur between what is, a man isn't what Hollywood and, things like that make it out to be, where, how many women you sleep with and, things like that. Being a man is being that rock, is being that foundation for the people around you to anchor themselves to be a better person. And I'm kind of losing my train of thought because this angel's envy is getting to me, but there's a lack of direction for young men and they're lost. And I really want what we say here to give some direction to those young men. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I would say don't lose focus on your goals, your aspirations in your family life. But everything that you've said, being a true man in today's society means you have to be able to reach out to someone to help you through some of your situations. It's not the 50s. It's not the 20s. This day and age, it's so hard to do it by yourself with how many stressors there are in the world right now, that don't be afraid to ask for help. That tells, I might tell my boys that. I have twin boys, and I tell them that all the time.
Big head, little head.
Big head, little head.
That's my nickname for him.
I tell them, if you want to be a true man, true father, don't be afraid to ask for help.
So in the comments, they're asking about, I said his name was Chris Bigelow, and I always screw it up. It's Chris Bledsoe, but this is his Twitter.
I'll put it. Send me the link, and I'll put it in the description.
But that's all the UFO stuff's all in there. You can see all those thousands.
Yeah, we're back on the UFO shit.
I'm not making it up.
That's so crazy.
No, Taylor, send me the link, and Gary, I'll tell you the two people that are on this podcast, and pretty much, other than our dad, mine and Taylor's dad, Steve, the people that have consistently been there for me in the way that you're talking about, Gary, is you and Taylor. Is through all of my, since retiring from the military, and I'll keep this short. Since retiring from the military, I went through, and I'll share a little bit of my backstory. I was retiring from the military, had just gotten off my last deployment, and I was going through divorce, and basically is when I decided to just shift my whole fucking trajectory. And that's when I came up here to build my cabin. And in that, the people that were there that kept me anchored was our dad, Steve, Taylor, and Gary. Myke, he stayed in contact with me, but through everything, Gary and Taylor and my dad, Steve, have been that anchor that you're talking about, Gary, where you have to have people in your life that you can reach out to, and that you can be open with and be real with, and talk to them about things and get good constructive advice without feeling like you're being weak.
Agreed.
And I know a lot of people in the military that might watch this that will resonate with them, because in the military, you're taught that you have to be resilient, you have to be strong at all times, that you can't show weakness. But there is a time when a man needs to humble himself and find God. And I'm not a religious person. Taylor knows this. Myke knows this. I am agnostic. I don't have a religion. I don't necessarily believe in a traditional God. But you need to find that anchor, that rock. As a man, you need to be that rock. But as a man, you need that rock. And if that's God, if that's family, if that's friends, if that's a parent, whatever that is, you need to have that in your life.
Well, I don't think you have to believe in a God. You just need an inner spiritual mindset to ground you and center yourself, that there is always something bigger than you.
Yes. All right. We're gonna end this.
This got heavy.
Yeah. No. But it's important. So
I've had this. I've had this, but I haven't had this. So.
All right. I know you're hungry, and we're gonna end this. And this is the final topic. I want everyone to just give their final closing statements on what we've covered in this episode. So, Myke, go first because I know you probably got to go.
Bigfoot's real.
All right. Have you seen him? Is he blurry?
Saw his footprints last weekend.
That was me. I was stalking you. All right, Gary, what's up?
I don't know. I got a lot of questions about the red dot stuff. We can save it for next time, but just a brief summary. How does that apply to people like me in aviation where we do shoot from the helicopter? We can cover that next time. The steak thing, cast iron, open fire. I'm down on those. All the fancy stuff you chefs do. Not a big fan.
All right. All right.
And
Jeff?
I think we went deep enough on the father thing, the male thing.
Yeah.
I don't need to add any more on that.
Absolutely. I just wanted to get that message out there. Jeff, what do you got in closing statements?
I just want to make it clear that I will eat steak made by anyone, by any fashion, as long as it's good.
We know, Jeff.
I'm methodology agnostic. I'm results oriented in my mouth. So that's
yeah, as long as it goes.
I don't know what I'll talk about, but steak.
That's right.
Clearly
Taylor?
remembers. I just know that Jeff has been very good at being very patient because he's been hungry the whole time. When he came to the office, he was like, "I'm hungry. We need to go eat." And then I was like,
"Hats off to you, Jeff. Hats off."
I only have an extra 20 to 25 pounds, gentlemen. I don't want to cut it close. For emergencies.
Taylor.
To wrap everything up?
Wrap everything up.
I'm not saying that there's UFOs, but there probably are UFOs.
Dude, you're like that. You're like that Greek guy on Ancient Aliens. You're like, oh, I'm not saying it's UFOs, but it's UFOs.
Yeah, that's right. It's not Ancient Aliens, but it's Ancient Aliens.
But
I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm saying it's improbable.
We'll have an episode that deals with pyramids and Ancient Aliens. All right.
Exactly. Hey, I will come prepared.
I bet you will.
They couldn't move those stones. There's no way. No.
There's no way. They use lasers to cut the stones.
Wow. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen. It's been a pleasure, and thank you for everybody that showed up. Next episode is next Sunday, same time, same place. We'll change up the whiskey. We'll change up the cigars, and we'll have the same people. And Myke, you're welcome to join us. If you're busy, you can join us another time.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks.
Hey,
And
before
we'll
we go,
go ahead.
we need to set up one of these podcasts to where we're all in the same location at least once a year.
Honestly, I think that you should all come up here to the cabin. I have a nice wraparound couch, and we can all sit around. We can eat steak. We can sip some spirits, have some cigars, and do man shit.
I mean,
and Myke isn't that far from me. He's only like an hour or two drive.
oh, so even when I move up there, I'm only going to be 3.5 hours away.
Oh, dude, you could fly into Spokane, and I'll come pick you up.
Oh, that sounds horrible. But it's better than Seattle.
well, dude, and we definitely need to start talking about that Hawaii build.
We do. We do. We need a plan.
I need to get Taylor in on that too, because he needs to put a little tiny house here on the cabin property, and he needs to put a little tiny house on the Hawaii property.
That he does. I need to put a tiny house on your property too.
You do.
There we are.
All right, gentlemen. Thanks for coming, and we will wrap this up for this evening.
Nice to meet everyone.
Take care, everyone.
See you guys. Thanks.
Thanks, Mike.
Bye.